I'm Nick.
I'm Megan.
This is the Weekly Sizzle. Welcome back to another week of the Weekly Sizzle. Obviously, we got some amazing music. Do you want to do an imitation of it?
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right, good. Yeah, I figured that much. What you're going to see in our new format, other than a killer opening, is that we are going to talk about the 8 most important things from the week. Why? Because there is the number 8 in 1851. As simple as that. So we're going to create some more branding around this, just like Megan and I promised at, Weekly Sizzle 10 sizzles ago. Let's kick this off. Number 1. Megan, you wrote about Warby Parker. Far too often, franchise news is so specific to the franchising industry. Is it valuable for franchising folks to read things that are about other entrepreneurs that might not be connected back to franchises?
Yeah, I think the lesson that we can take from the founding of Warby Parker is to not be afraid to completely disrupt an industry just because it's always been that way. So Warby Parker was founded because they just simply thought that glasses were too expensive. And so they cut out the middleman, created their own glasses, and in doing that could drastically cut the price by like 30%, I think. They go for like $95, and normally you're paying what, like $500 for everything. And so just by believing that they could buck the system, they did. And they completely disrupted and revolutionized the way that we purchase eyeglasses now. And I think that in itself is a lesson that anyone can apply to whatever business they're running.
That's great. Second story, how technology has taken over the restaurant industry. We have a story that talks about restaurant brands starting to test different delivery items or delivery methods and drones. It seems like technology is going to continue pushing and driving restaurant brands specifically to find ways to engage with their customers on a different level. A great example of this, Megan, is that you take Amazon, what Amazon is doing with delivery, and now restaurant brands are watching what a non-franchise brand is doing. So it goes back to what we were talking before. Number 3, we have a story about virtual reality and how it's the next form of storytelling. Comment on that?
Yeah, pretty simply, people are investing more in virtual reality headsets so that they can tell their story in that way. It's just kind of another shift in the way that technology is going with younger generation, and that's kind of what people want. So brands are adapting accordingly.
That's right. Yeah, and for prospective franchisees out there, obviously you're looking at brands to show you that they're innovative. Maybe look at what brands are doing with virtual reality or ask that question. Now, for a startup brand that might not fit into their budget range, but look at the established brands. Look at a Domino's and see things about their brand that you enjoy, and then ask some of the more emerging brands, what are they going to do to advance their technology as they continue? Number 4, we have a great story from our good friend Bill Hogg. He wrote a column about finding the way to create change agents in your company. And one thing that I thought that he said that was important is that you should include every level of your organization in those decisions. Far too often, it's a top-down mentality or a leadership mentality that only what the top person says goes, and it's hard to rally your troops around that message. Great column by Bill this week. Number 5, Wing Zones expanded in Chicago. There was a nice story in Cranes. As you can see on 1851, we try to bring you all the great news from around the web. So this was a specific story about Wing Zone. But Megan, as you talk with many brands on a daily basis, are you sensing that they have enthusiasm about their growth models for the rest of the year? Or are they starting to get a little anxious with the election coming up? What's going on from your feedback?
Well, for Wing Zone in particular, I think a big part of it was realizing that there's this huge people are really interested in bold flavors, spicy flavors, new stuff coming into their town, and I think that people are still realizing that there's an untapped or unmet need in certain places. So I think as long as that exists, people are eager and enthusiastic about growing.
Okay, great. Next one, we have a story about why businesses choose to grow through franchising. We had some franchise consultants, including Steve Biegelman, quoted in that story, and still brands are going to continue to choose franchising for lack of capital is 1. 2, speed of growth, that if I'm able to find you out there and have you help grow my brand, it gets faster, and I'm willing to give you a percentage of ownership. In many cases, you take home 90%-ish of every dollar. You give us 10%. It gives a better partnership and gives more ability to grow. But franchise brands continue to pop up. There are hundreds and hundreds of brands that are jumping on the scene every single year. And as we continue through this year, we have an emerging franchisor issue coming up. We'll continue to show you some of those brands that have decided to go the franchise route. We have a story about keynote speakers from last week. That was my column on keynote speakers. It's time to brand yourself. I, for one, am tired of seeing really, really, really crappy PowerPoints. So spend a little bit of effort, make the visual presentation good, or follow some of the tasks or tips that some of the best speakers in the world follow. That you don't really need that many slides, 3, 4, 5 slides, and just really talk like you're telling a narrative or a story. And Megan, obviously our next issue is right around the corner. Do you want to tell our readers just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have the top players in franchise development, and we're featuring 26 people from different brands and just kind of getting a sense of sort of what makes their brand tick in terms of growth, kind of what some of their best achievements are, milestones, and sort of just what makes them passionate about what they do every single day. And also kind of looking down the pipeline, where do they expect to go in the years to come? So look out for that.
It's great. Hey, thanks for watching the Weekly Sizzle. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.